I was speaking with this client earlier today, and we began talking about treatment, the way that we treat each other as human beings, the way that we treat other people, and the way that other people treat us. And the conversation went to ill treatment and what to do and what happens when someone that you're close with, you have a definitive relationship with, starts treating you in a way that you don't like or approve of. And one of the things we talked about was how we as people are responsible for training others how to treat us. And that means that in these relationships, whether they are friendships, could be familial relationships, a coworker, boss, and certainly romantic relationships. People are people. We're flawed. We make mistakes. We do things. We say things. We get into arguments, disagreements. Things happen. People come into these relationships and they bring with them not only their baggage, their history, their trauma, but also their culture, their way of speaking, their way of phrasing things, their way of displaying action or perhaps inaction in certain things. When we're in relationships, we have to set forward our own example. Not only be that in the relationship, but also do and say the things that show this other person or tell this other person how we want to be treated. People, especially with egos, and especially when we're hurt or there's a conflict, people will go to almost any length in their treatment toward you. We have not only a right, but a responsibility to set the tone of that in a relationship. So if someone is coming at you and treating you poorly, a way that you don't like or approve of, you not only have the right, but you have the responsibility to yourself to tell that person, to let them know. Oftentimes in these relationships, other people have a certain level of responsibility in how they treat us. And that's true, vice versa. We have a responsibility in how we treat other people, but it's also a shared responsibility. We also have a responsibility to show and tell people how we want to be treated or not treated. This involves, first, self-awareness, getting to know how you want to be treated and not treated, but then communicating that in a calm and effective manner. And what happens if that person doesn't reciprocate that? They don't follow through. Perhaps it's a boundary that you set. Perhaps it's even going as far as a verbal or mental or emotional abuse. You have the right and responsibility to do what you need to do in order to first respect yourself, but also protect yourself. In relationships, we bring this baggage, and sometimes people just don't vibe, for lack of a better term. We don't get along. We're not on that same wavelength. When that happens, you can tell and you can show and you can stop certain treatment. You can stop or curtail this treatment in some type of way. That's at first kind, calm, rational, But then, after you've made it known, you have that responsibility to respect and protect yourself in these ways of letting them know that this treatment will not be tolerated under any circumstance. And there's nothing wrong with that. And also, of course, other people have the right and responsibility to do that to us as well. When this fear comes up, especially happens in romantic relationships, right? You care about that person, you want them to like you, you want them to love you, you don't want to upset or hurt them. A lot of times we cower. In fear, we retreat inside ourselves and we don't stand up for ourselves. And we let people treat us in a certain manner, especially if it's early in the relationship and still in that, that crush honeymoon phase. But then that person, either consciously or subconsciously, takes in that this type of treatment is not only allowed, but is perfectly acceptable. And thus, either consciously or subconsciously, they're going to keep behaving that way, keep treating it that way. We don't ever have to cower in fear or apprehension when it comes to training other people in the ways that we want to be treated. It's for the betterment of your own heart, your own energy, and for the betterment of how we interact and function in our interpersonal relationships. So don't be afraid to respect and protect yourself.